The Draco Federation Alliance's demands and secrets revealed. This report will not be as detailed as it is based on a briefing given to me from Lieutenant Col. Gonzalez of his meeting with the Draco Federation Alliance, the Committee of 200 Chairman, and his first time to attend the Human-like ET Super Federation Conference sitting in the Delegate's chair in his meeting with Rotier. Because of the length of the article and the details contained in the various subjects, I am breaking it into two parts. Lieutenant Col. Gonzalez was kept quite busy while I was away during my week of shooting video interviews with David Wilcock at GoodETxSG. It was apparently important that I continued that project undisturbed so that it could branch out into a wider project. I had expected to shoot 5 episodes and be done. I also didn't expect the skeptical GoodETxSG team to do a second round of vetting using their own well-known researchers who after the questioning and first several days of recording had decided I was not recycling known information or making up stories that had fooled David Wilcock and his sources. To the GoodETxSG team's credit, they didn't want to put their names behind a source who would end up being a huge embarrassment in the future. All of those doing the questioning and the vetting process were well versed in the information I had presented over a long period of time and were looking for any signs of deception. I was heavily focused on the very new experience of video recording in a studio with a crew and was oblivious to the fact that during that time there were events unfolding that would not wait for my return. I returned home exhausted and was recovering from extreme pain I suffered during the trip and was catching up with my wife and kids. I was actually in quite a lot of pain throughout the entire week we recorded interviews in Colorado. Everyone there was great about the fact that we had to take breaks often from my post-surgery shoulder issues. We were able to cover a wide range of topics, but by the end of the 4th day it was obvious that we had barely scratched the surface of the full details of my prior and current SSP experiences and the information I had access to on the smart glass pads while I was in service. It was decided that we would do at least 52 episodes and create an entirely new show around this content called Cosmic Disclosure, which I am now told will air Tuesday, July 21st. Gonzalez contacted me almost immediately when I arrived home and informed that there had been some pretty big developments in my absence and that he had stepped in to fill the delicate responsibilities in 2 important Federation Council meetings. After a couple of days I was finally able to meet Gonzalez at a location not far from my home for the short but information-packed briefing. He started off by describing the Draco Federation Alliance meeting with the same 14-foot-tall white royal reptilian that I and the security team had encountered prior, the Reptilian Honor Guard, the attending mantid and insectoid beings along with the much smaller delegation of human representatives that identify themselves as the chairman of the Committee of 200. He stated that he was somewhat overconfident going into this meeting and felt he owed me a bit of an apology. He felt that my description of my telepathic exchange was skewed by a fear reaction and that it was possible that I was reacting viscerally to the White Royal since most of my interfacing, telepathic communications with a non-human, had been with less intimidating types of beings. Lieutenant Col. Gonzalez had interfaced with several types of reptilian and reptoid beings in his time, but he said none of that prepared him for this experience. The White Royal Draco was over 14 feet tall, had a vestigial tail and wings that were not large enough to support him in actual flight. This was a very muscular and intimidating being with a presence like no other. We were both given the same name and title of this tall white Draco Royal that is being kept as confidential information. Because of some very troubling events that occurred at my home that involved the targeting and terrorizing of my family, we ended up having a second meeting several days later where we were able to discuss his previous briefing in more detail. This was a much more relaxed conversation and he was trying to calm me down from the 2 incidents that occurred in my home. I will do a separate report on the incidents at my home where very tall Nordic-type ETs with 6 fingers invaded the sanctuary of our home twice and why this was allowed to occur. This also will cover an SSP Alliance Council meeting that I attended directly related to these incidents where I was extremely upset and a small falling out between myself and the SSP Alliance Council occurred. This report will be released after the part 2 of this report is released. The full details of Lieutenant Col. Gonzalez's briefing unfolded in the following manner. He and 4 security members, who were also intuitive empaths, arrived at a similar location as the one that I and 4 security members had met the Draco delegation prior. It was a smaller building that was obviously scouted out to be of tactical advantage to the Draco Federation Alliance. I was not given a specific geographic location, but this was somewhere in the southwest United States, just as last time. In my meeting with the Draco Federation Alliance, I arrived in a blue orb where the SSP Alliance team was waiting on a rooftop, hovering in one of the 50-foot-long modular shuttlecraft with the side sliding doors open. In Gonzalez's case, he arrived at the location in the same type of craft with his operations support team. He and his 4 security team members disembarked and made their way down the inside of a building that was about 1/3 RD the size of the building at the previous meeting site, floor-wise. Gonzalez and his security team came out into a hallway and it seemed empty and quiet except the security/E's motioned down the hall with hand signals where they felt the awaiting delegation. When they were most of the way to the end of the hall, Gonzalez saw a very familiar person. He said this person had to have seen the look on his face and his gaping open mouth. This person introduced himself with his thick accent, droopy eyes and curly white hair. Gonzalez said this guy had created so many think tanks, global organizations and advised more U.S. presidents than anyone he could think of. This person is very well known as a supporter of the New World Order and depopulation programs. After the introduction, this man led Gonzalez's team into a larger foyer of the closed-down hotel where once again men in suits were standing by a closed-down bar. This time there were only 3 men other than the well-known person who did the first introduction. The 3 men in suits were leaning against the bar in a lounge area where bar stools used to be, in the small area where tables and chairs had obviously once stood. This famous bureaucrat then introduced the other 3 men and stated that they were the chairman of the Committee of 200. This man then began laying down some ground rules for the meeting that was about to occur. Gonzalez could already see movement further into the foyer and 3 different beings moving around as if getting into position. Gonzalez and the security team all felt that the entire scene was very theatrical and staged. The chairman, who was doing all of the talking, singled Gonzalez out and told him that if he wished to survive this meeting that he had better show a lot more respect and diplomacy than he had shown at the recent ICC Mars colony fiasco. None of that type of behavior would be tolerated by the audience he was being granted on this occasion and would result in swift death of himself and his team. Gonzalez told me that after he was sufficiently warned in a very dramatic way by this person, they led his team the rest of the way into the large open foyer where he caught his first smell of the musky urine type of odor that I and the others had reported in our prior meeting. The SSP Alliance delegation was walked by a very intimidating honor guard of 9-foot-tall reptilian warriors who were standing with feet shoulders apart, grasping a long staff with a broadsword-type blade at the end. Gonzalez stated that the security team/E's reported that they all picked up that this was a theatrical display of force to make sure the SSP delegation felt that the White Royal Draco was not dealing from weakness. Standing behind the reptilian honor guard were mantid and insectoid beings who were now being very still and standing in a loose formation. In our last encounter they were roaming about the entire time. Gonzalez said he saw the White Royal Draco standing in the front and middle of the formation of these other beings. The team was walked to the front of the White Royal, his name will be withheld, and was expected to bow according to the chairman. Gonzalez stood tall and did not do so. Gonzalez stood before this 14-foot-tall beast and immediately the communication began. He said he was completely taken off guard by the intensity of the penetration of his forehead and frontal lobes. His words were that it put me back on my heels. He said at that moment I knew that my report was accurate. He was certain until that point that I had exaggerated the experience. Just as in my experience the White Royal's eyes were morphing colors, yellow and red, and the vertical slit pupils were pulsing and changing sizes to the point that at times its eyes were completely black. This meeting was different. They did not come to negotiate. They indeed had created the entire theatrical environment to convey that they were not dealing from weakness. The White Royal Draco was making some very serious demands and told Gonzalez that a failure to capitulate to them by the SSP Alliance or the Sphere Alliance would be an act of war against the entire Draco Federation Alliance and their overlords. It was shocking to hear them mention their overlords because these White Royals had always put forward the notion that they were the top of the totem pole, the tip of the spear and the pinnacle of the pyramid of power in their empire. We had lots of circumstantial evidence and intelligence that they were very afraid of and served a higher force, but until that moment had never received acknowledgement straight from the serpent's mouth. The Royal White Draco then made sure that Gonzalez repeated what was communicated to him so all could hear it. It was obvious from other intelligence that the prior meeting and their offer to hand over all of their human followers and lower-level allies in exchange for the Sphere Alliance allowing them safe passage through the outer barrier had caused major splits within their own ranks. This was a show of force that was obviously meant to mend fences and unify their splintered human following. This same White Royal Draco now made demands wrapped in threats for Gonzalez to deliver to the SSP Alliance Council and the Sphere Alliance. The demand was that all of the Draco Federation Alliance would be allowed to leave through the outer barrier as they wished and that their human allies would be given clemency and promised no reprisals in future events in a human-controlled Sol system. The White Royal stated in no uncertain terms that they had the power to bring great calamity and war to the surface of the earth and were prepared to do so. They stated that the Sphere Alliance had not been forthcoming in the true power of their extra-dimensional overlords who were now present and ready to do battle beside the Draco Federation Alliance as had been prophesied about their empire millions of years ago. They boasted that these same overlords were responsible in some way for the entities that we called the ET artificial intelligence that is their ally and had conquered entire galaxies. Gonzalez stated the grandiose boasting and threats went on for some time in the same theatrical manner before the White Royal Draco let go of his mind and turned and lumbered out of the room with his reptilian honor guard and the insectoid delegation. The chairman then approached them and walked them back the way them came and in the same manner went over how serious the situation was for the surface population of Earth that the Alliance agreed to the terms presented. The chairman stated that this was an opportunity for a win-win situation and that dismissing it like the Americans dismissed negotiating with terrorists would be detrimental to the population on the surface of the planet. Gonzalez said that he had enough of the drama and theater and just wanted to get his aching and pounding head out of there and back to the shuttle. Back at the location in North Texas where Gonzalez and I were sitting at the table, we both became quiet for a few moments as some of this was sinking in. Just as I was putting some of these very dots together, Gonzalez told me that some of the higher caste reptilians that they had managed to kill and keep their bodies without them self-destructing, some sort of technology that vaporized the remains of the dead reptilian, and then later analyze had revealed something very disturbing. Gonzalez sat back in his chair and could see on my face that I had made the connection already. He made one of those faces where a person smiles but their eyes and forehead have a stoic look and lean back in. He said their bodies were absolutely filled with nanites. These are some of the most advanced AI bots we have ever seen in living tissue. I asked the obvious question. Is the Draco Federation Empire nothing but AI profits? He said AI profits, AI lies we don't know. Gonzalez then said the info about their overlords was a key confirmation that they are deeply afraid of and working for beings from another reality or dimension. He said that they funnel this lush energy to their overlords and keep some for themselves. He also stated that they work with or use other etheric beings as tools or etheric technology to control people and other ETs that are in their Federation alliance. He stated further that this was very sensitive information that had been extremely costly to acquire over the years. Gonzalez stated that these threats were being taken very seriously and that there was quite a lot of chatter of false flag events, both financial and terrorist, being planned to create more loosh for the Draco Federation Alliance and their overlords. The Draco Federation Alliance was storing this energy and preparing for an epic battle. He stated that the Earth Alliance had been infiltrated in a number of ways and that Russia was very upset that the Cabal had managed to do this in order to create a NWO 2.0. He stated Russia had some plans to correct this in the near future along with some of their trusted allies. In Part 2 we will discuss more of these Earth Alliance infiltrations, false flags and Gonzalez's description of his first time being the lead delegate at a Human-type ET Super Federation conference where he sat in the delegate chair and spoke to the assembly to deliver some extremely interesting news concerning some of the positive ET groups that had been trapped on Earth for months. Many of these ETs were here to study our oceans and jungles and care nothing about our civilization or interfering in our affairs. Their support teams who are trapped inside this Sol system's outer barrier had been requesting their release from Earth for some time. Human and negative ET groups had begun to hunt them down to obtain their extremely advanced technology, and they were also running out of supplies and needed support. This was addressed in this last conference. Part 2 will follow shortly, as well as an additional report of recent events that include further details of the tall Nordic beings with 6 fingers who invaded our home and abducted my family, as well as performed a similar operation on a researcher who has been working closely with us. Please stand by for more details to be released in the coming days. Please also remember that the new series Cosmic Disclosure will air on GoodETxSG TV on Tuesday, July 21st. The first 2 episodes will be free. Those who want to see the following 50+ episodes and want to join GoodETxSG TV at 99 cents for the first month and $9.99 each additional month can do so by clicking the GoodETxSG TV banner below or the following link. For each person that becomes and stays a member, I receive a small month's contribution to allow me to keep providing this information free on my website. GoodETxSG membership link where I get credit is found in the video description. We are also opening an online store selling t-shirts with the Sphere Alliance logo on the front and the blue avian message on the back. This is a good way to support the SphereBeingAlliance.com site as well as spread the message of becoming more loving, forgiving and raising our consciousness and vibrations. They are also great conversation starters about this topic. I understand anything having to do with money in this field and taboo, but anything I can do to provide for my family while doing this work is a positive thing. Gonzalez receives material support for his role. Working for 6th to 9th density beings who see everything as a journey and relating to karma is a completely different place to have to work from. Any of your contributions through PayPal, signing up to GoodETxSG TV or shopping at our online store assist us in this effort is greatly appreciated. Sphere Being Alliance Store, SphereBeingAlliance.com/store, stand by for Part 2. Thank you, Corey/GoodETxSG.